I'm 16, nearly 17, and my parents are die-hard anti-vaxxers. I personally got vaxxed about 6 months ago without them knowing. Not have a crack at me for that. They can choose not to get vaxxed, I can choose to get the jab. Not the point of this. Anyway, I have just tested positive for COVID on a rat test I was told not to do because being sick would be an inconvenience. I've got a terrible headache and I've been coughing. I don't complain of being sick unless it's bad. I refused to go to the doctor with pneumonia because I was fine. Rules where I live are that you can't attend school and you must isolate until you get a negative rat and your symptoms are gone. I'm not sure if I go to school and mention it to one of the teachers that know what's kinda going on in my life or if I just mask up and try to avoid contact with other people. Any ideas? Update. Both parents were at work when I got up. Rang my mother, told her I felt like shit and didn't want to go to school. She told me to ring my father. She was unimpressed with this. I rang Dad and he actually said that I should just stay home, although he still did sound happy about. Which isn't very new. Looks like we're all good for today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Thanks so much for all the advice, guys. It's all been really helpful. You have a few options. Go to school and tell the nurse you're sick, you've been exposed. Or you can just rebel, stay home, fuck it. Or if you don't wanna do either, go and ditch school and isolate yourself. Probably not the best options. Deaf person, male sign person, shrugging male sign. Thanks, that's helpful. I'm in good with the principal. Might mention it to her and see if she freaks and sends me home. Go to school and tell the nurse you're sick. Look, I'm considering it. It's the second time I've tested positive in a couple weeks. Last time they lost their shit and threatened to send me to boarding school because I told someone I was positive. Mind you, the person I told was the person I got it off. Pretty sure if you walk in and say, I tested positive for COVID, the school will kick you out. I would call the school myself and tell them I tested positive, but my parents don't believe in science and are trying to force me to put other lives at risk. Then just skip. I'll definitely be informing someone at the school. Thank you. Call or email the school the results of your test and tell them that your parents are trying to make you go anyway. Tell them you're coughing a lot. I bet they'll have security out there with a picture of you and your parents just waiting to keep you out. Call the school or Child Protective Services. Either would probably be able to help you. I've thought about calling Child Protective Services. They're not that bad generally. Usually it doesn't affect us that much. I think I'll just go through the school. Thanks. Your parents are asking you to do something immoral. If you infect your classmates and one dies, how will you live with that? If you told your parents their wishes were immoral and you're staying home, what would they do? Drag you out of the house? Maybe talk to a relative about talking some sense into them. Even though it's stressful to stand up to stupidity, it's the right thing to do. Okay, so my parents are beyond listening to any of the sane extended family. They think you're all gonna die of the vaccination. Yes, they would physically force me to go to school. It's almost midnight here. So this a tomorrow morning issue, but it's the first day back of term and so they're not going to let me miss it even if I have the plague skeptical smiley face. And put up a fight. Go to your school nurse or any favorite teacher and tell them from a distance that you've got COVID and tell them everything about how your parents are forcing you and all. And then request them to make a call to your parents and say, your kid seems to have fever. We suggest you to take COVID tests and keep him home. For the safety of everyone here, please do not send him to school, so that they won't be mad at you and you would not be going because you'll be infecting others as well, along with the physical toll you'll have on yourself. And yeah, best of luck, you'll soon be negative smiley face. Tell the school nurse your symptoms and you won't be allowed back without a negative COVID test. Stick to your guns. I'm so proud of you. It's hard to break away from what your parents think. Not long now and you'll be on your own and away from their harmful thinking. You mask up. Go to school and say, I have COVID. My parents are forcing me to be here. And then the school will do their thing to get you the F out of there. Let the school know you've got COVID and they won't allow you in. Report your parents and go to the nurse. My son had a headache and he wasn't allowed back for 2 weeks because it is considered a COVID symptom. From a moral standpoint, you don't go and be that jerk who's a walking COVID transmitter. Tell your parents you just don't feel well. Don't need to say with what. You feel like shit. You can't focus and may have the flu, so you're going to stay home. I work in higher education and I can tell you if we hear students coughing or sounding funny, we tell them to leave. There is no option to stay. The times right now aren't like pre-pandemic. Doesn't matter if it's a cold or the flu. With COVID making a potential surge again, nobody is taking the chance. How are you getting tested? If your parents are anti-vaxxers and want you to go to school regardless if you have COVID or not, why do they keep testing you for it? At this point, when they just say fuck it and not care if you're positive or not. We've got rat tests. I did one because I'm sick and a couple friends have been around got COVID. I was somewhat okay to go to school sick. But I don't want to go with COVID and give it to others, and I wanted to check. Shoot for boarding school. You'll sprout wings. Go to school and tell the nurse about your situation. Just go to the nurse or the office and yell them, from a distance, that you are not feeling well. If they don't send you home or test you, tell them you think you have COVID. Just tell your parents you were sent to the office by your teacher because you are sick. The thing about COVID is that even if it is not life-threatening to you or those in your class, it could be to others in your classmates' family. There could be grandparents, or newborn babies, even pregnant mothers at your classmates' house. Those are reasons to not spread COVID. Glad you are smarter than your parents. Call the principal and tell him, her. Do not go. People can die from it. You could be the one to give it to them. I know it sounds harsh, but it's true. Yeah. Someone my mother knows lost his lower limbs as a side effect. If you have COVID, do a test in school. Boom, 2 weeks off and your parents can do nothing. Tell the school nurse that you tested positive for COVID and the school will kick you out for recovery. They're going to feel like shit when they get it. Get a rapid test at school and go home. Tell the school. They will force you to stay home. Tell the school. And then tell your parents the school made you take a fast test because you had symptoms. Tell your parents and stay home. If they make you go to school, immediately go to the nurse and tell someone. I am sorry, but if you're sick and your parents make you go to school, that is just wrong. Take care of yourself. Thank you for getting a jab. It's for yourself but also people like me who would die if they got it. And I'm so sorry you got sick anyway. Wait, so your parent didn't get vaccine? Your parent will get hurt really. Parents aren't vaccinated. Yeah, they could get hurt.